This is the Losi 5T 3.0, and it makes almost everything else in my garage look ridiculous. It's roughly 7.5 micro T's long, it takes a ton of space to really open it up, and when it crashes, it just sounds expensive. So today we're doing a release day reality check. We're going to run it, get some first impressions, get it on the bench, and show you what's up with this beast from Losi. All right, let's go ahead and get our batteries in. These trays are adequate to fit these 6800 G2 Spectrum batteries. You certainly don't need these. And I'll be looking to get some aftermarket batteries to run on this thing. It's just far from economical to run these exclusively in this vehicle. Let's get this thing fired up. Oh, we got steering. Pretty impressive for a stock servo. The first thing that stands out on this car is not the speed, it's absolutely the whine of the spur and pinion and the size. This thing is huge. And I'm going to stop talking here for a little bit. I'm going to turn on some music. I'm going to let you take in some first impressions as we drive it. I can't stress this enough, but it is impossible for this footage to do justice to what this thing is. I mean, there's a reason that fifth scale cars are considered categorically different. This thing certainly fits the hype and the bill. One of the things that's particularly hard to appreciate on film is just how fast this thing is. I know there's been a lot of criticism over the speed. I'll probably see some of that feedback here in the comments. And this thing's not a burner by any stretch, but it is really hauling out here. When you consider that this thing is almost 4 feet long, it's moving at a pretty ridiculous rate. It's almost as fast as my Kraton 6S EXB out of the box, which puts into context some of the comments about speed that we've seen elsewhere. Beyond that, this thing just soaks up bumps. It does not care. The landings off of jumps are super plush. On a breezy day like we've got here, it can be a little tricky to get it to land flat, it seems, but first impressions are that this thing's impressive. Specs are one thing, but specs don't prepare you for how stupid this looks next to a Micro T. Or an X-Max chassis, or a Kraton 6S EXB, or the Proline trencher for the XRT. This tire is basically the same size as this trophy truck tire, and this tire is off of one of the biggest production bashers on the market. The Micro T comparison is obviously unfair, but that's kind of the point. This is still RC, but the experience is completely different. At this size, storage, transportation, and where you run it become part of the ownership experience for sure. All right, let's see how much we can actually push this thing. Man, this thing is so fun to jump. I can't believe how well it flies. It is really windy here, so there's definitely some wind that's catching it on the body and pulling it around a little bit, but it's still relatively easy to land, and it lands so stinking plush. I'll try to pace this off the next time I'm out here, but if I were guessing, I'd guess this is landing 45 to 50 feet. At 55 pounds with batteries added, this thing is certainly carrying some mass, and that really shows up in its handling. The car feels really planted to the turf, but one of the first things that you notice is just how much weight you're actually driving around. It corners differently than cars of other scales. There's a lot of lean in the body. That's part of what makes it fun, but it sure is different than what I'm used to. Here's a good view that captures all of that. You can see the weight, you can see the way that it's staying planted to the ground, and you can see the amount of roll the body still has going on. I know you're all wondering, is it durable? Can it take a hit? Well, let's find out. Ooh! The 1-foot flip is definitely more difficult with this thing. That's gonna leave a mark. Oh. Oh man. That's not what I was going for. I'm a part of a local group that races out here once a month, and I think this thing is going to feel like cheating the next time we all get together. Let's get a couple more jumps in for good measure. And the remote's going to be beeping soon that our battery's gone. That was about 17 minutes of total runtime bashing like this, which I feel is pretty good compared to most of the reviews I've seen so far. Let's get it back inside and take a peek on the bench. Well, guys, we got it. We got it back inside. It is on our handy little Traxxas, what they call, I believe, the 5th scale stand, though I'm not sure that that quite fits. And we did get a couple of scuffs on it, mostly on the stickers. Looks like the plastic was holding up just fine. I noticed that this came apart. I landed pretty hard on it, so I'll definitely take the blame for that and might be able to figure out a solution to do something about it with some glue. But other than that, she's in good shape. We're gonna get the body off and take a peek inside, see what we got. Getting the body on and off is really simple. We got a total of 4 pins here. Go ahead and pull those on out. We have 2 more right here and here. And then on the side of the truck, be 2 little handles underneath the side body panels. Pull this one up. Probably best done simultaneously. I'm going to set you down for a second. For our little run, we did 3 straps. I didn't feel like the 4th was necessary. As long as you're going to run IC5 or IC3 connectors, this is a great way to do it. Though I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of people who want to change out this ESC and run some QS8s or similar. At the point at which you decide to do that, you are going to have some work to do. You're either going to have to change up how you connect your ESC, or you're going to have to go ahead and wait until an aftermarket supplier comes out with an alternative for these hookups. So again, these are nice. They're really convenient. I think it's a nice touch on this rig, but it is something that you're going to have to consider if you change out the ESC. The reason I think swapping these out is going to become so common is that any ESC that you're replacing this thing with is really going to push the limits of what's appropriate for the EC5. I know it's pretty common in the hobby already to do that. Things like the Cobra 6, things like the Max 5, you can get away with those connectors because you're not going to be constantly pulling the amount of power that's going to make those connectors problematic. But with this thing, you really are going to be flirting with that. So probably something to be considering as you think about upgrading.
Here we see the massive can. I left out the 5690 out of the X-Max. People kind of gawk at that thing when they're unfamiliar with the hobby because it feels so massive. And this can is legitimately about double the size of this. I think I saw online that it weighs about 5.5 pounds. You can see it's cooled by some absolutely enormous 50 millimeter fans. We'll see how long those last. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be switching those out too. I was quite pleased with the steering servo. This thing felt pretty twitchy compared to most stock servos. I thought that was a nice touch. I don't know that on a fifth scale rig like this, you're necessarily assuming that people are going to be changing it out immediately, but it seems like the hobby has trended that direction where servos are just something you got to plan to replace right away. I'm sure it will at some point, but it didn't feel like a weak point of the truck, like something that needed to happen right away. Can see the Mod 1.5 spur in here. Guys, this thing is gigantic.
Here's what would be a
somewhat common Mod 1 XRT spur here. And this thing is just, I mean, it's laughable by comparison. These shocks, again, massive. All right, these are 73 millimeter Pro Line shocks that are going to be going on the back of the Mini Crate, and I want to test those out, compare them to the Hot Racing ones, see what they seem like. But you can see, man, there's just legitimately no comparison between these and the 5T shocks. I do, on first impression, quite like the design for the body retention. I think this is a clever setup. It does feel pretty easy to get to. The only thing that feels tricky about it is so big. It's going to be hard to do with one hand. You're going to need to have both hands handy. I am hopeful we can figure something better out for this battery tray system. 4 straps just feels obnoxious. Doing 8 straps in a tight space like that when the body's on is going to feel like it's limiting our ability to just enjoy the truck. You can see we got boots all over the place to keep out dirt and grime. It does look like we got some tire rubbing on some of those jumps on the inside of the wheel wells. Definitely something we're going to be paying attention to see how it holds up. And I quite like with the size of this, we're going to be able to get an action camera in there and get some cool footage from the inside of the truck. And see, we got some really thick motor wire here. It's like 8 gauge, good to 200 degrees. There is a little bit of residual warmth here about 15 minutes after running this thing in the motor. So worth noting. You can see our Mod 1.5 pinion there. Got a little tiny bit of wear on it. We'll go ahead and check the mesh in a little bit. That does feel a little loose to me.
And one more ridiculous scale comparison for good measure. Here's my beefed up SCX30. 2 quick things: like and subscribe if you're enjoying content like this, and comment down below what you think we should modify first on this thing.